understand from this image? Anyone, you can just unmute yourself and let me know.
Basically, ma'am, this shows that everything has to be done digitally, like you have book within the PC. It is more locked, it is more books and inside education, learning.
Okay.
Not outside. I mean, there is no place as such, the outside area where the people are learning. It is more digital, more online.
Very nice. Anyone
other
else?
Than traditional education.
Yes. Good. Anyone else? You can just unmute and tell me.
Because basically, if you see that anybody can do the education from anywhere, because if he is very because interested in the digital education and he know all the facts and everything, he have all the equipment, so he can do that education from anywhere. So that's the biggest advantage in digital education. No need to sit in a particular classroom.
Great. Thank you so much, sir. So a little bit I'll elaborate about this image. As you can see, topic which we are going to study today, which we are going to discuss today, basically I would say it's all my viewpoint here. So it is about contemporary issues and of digital education and traditional education. If you see this image, there are books also there, and you can see this in laptop. Students are studying, even some books you can see in your laptop. So it's mix of your books, it is mix of your digital education, which is what you can say is going to be trend in 21st century. Online education, digital education, e-learning, with including your books. So before coming to our topic, okay, before coming to issues, I will first discuss about what do you mean by 21st century learning, 21st century students, 21st century teachers. Little bit introduction about that, and then at last we'll move to some important issues which digital and traditional education is suffering from. So this is framework of 21st century learning, which in which century we are now. You can see this. Earlier when we used to study and our parents, our grandparents used to study, there was basically learning skills they were having test book from where they were learning, no need of extracurricular skills which you require, technology skills, life skills, career skills were not so much. But now if you take into consideration 21st century learning, so you can see it is divided into three parts. Basically life and career skills, you have learning and innovation skills, and you also require information media and technology skills. Again, so many courses are there online and people are moving towards online education, moving towards digital education. So these all skills are required for 21st century learning. And all these, your standard assessment, curriculum development, professional development, learning environment, everything comes under this. So some important topics which we are going to cover regarding core subjects and 21st century themes. What do you mean by this 21st century themes? Basically, in this 21st century, you don't have to take example, if my specialization is finance. So it is not necessary that I have to stick to my specialization itself, that only I should know about finance. I should have wide knowledge. I should have health literacy, knowledge of health, environment literacy, entrepreneurial literacy, etc. Even if you are from science background, from any background, just basic skills about global awareness, financial awareness, business awareness, everything you should know, irrespective of any specialization or any field in which you are working. Next comes your life and career skills. Lot of competition. And again, if you take into consideration today's session, I will also include some problems and some issues and some good things this COVID-19 has given us, this lockdown has given us. So you can see in this, there are various life and career skills also which you have to keep in mind, and you have to improve that skills, like your productivity skills, accountability skills, leadership skills. In every position, in your job, in your college, or any position wherever you're working, you need leadership skills in any, even in small things which you do, you need leadership skills in that. Social skills, cross-cultural skills. Why cross-cultural skills? Because we are living in this globalized world. Now you have to be like globalized, and you should be aware about other cultures which other countries are also following. Because take example, if you are working in any MNC and that MNC have branch or any office in other country also, say any Middle East country or any US, UK, etc. So you should be aware about their cultures also, and you also require cross-cultural skills. Then comes your learning and innovation skills. Learning and innovation skills play a very important role. Nowadays, you have to be very practical. The learning which we used to do in our schools, rote learning and all that time has gone. You can take example of small kids, like I'll give you example of my daughter, which is in junior KG. currently. So in junior KG itself, they are using so much technology. They are building their fine motor skills. So many skills they are building, which when we were in school time, we were in college time, that skills were not there. So you have to improve your creativity and innovation, critical thinking, problem solving, communication and collaboration plays a very important role in today's time, 21st century. Then comes your ICT, you can say information media technology skills, which everyone should have. And now today's generation, as we will move to 21st century students, I'll discuss with you generation. So now they are very well versed. Today's generation is well versed with ICT, with IT. So they are information literate. Media literacy is also important. And next is information and communication literacy. This ICT is a wide term. So in this, your communication technology or information technology also comes inside that. IT is a subset. Information technology is subset of ICT. You can say IT comes inside this. So this was basically your framework for 21st century learning. Now, moving to, just as I told you, I'm first going to start with base, which I have to cover when we'll move to digital education. So everyone might have heard about millennials, people who are born from 2000s and all. So many, they give them names that in this period, if you are born, you are known as millennial, generation X, then came generation X, then came generation Y and generation Alpha, generation Z and generation Alpha. You can see this. They are basically, you can say 21st century students. So I would like to elaborate on this. Generation Z are people who are children who are born between, you can say 1995 and 2009. They do not remember life without internet. Every time they have access to internet, smartphones. In schools they use smart technology. If you see ICSE boards, CBSE boards, majority of them they conduct their test, or they have some iPad. They use iPads in schools also. Smart boards are there, which when we were there in schools and colleges, that technology was not so much used widely. Then comes your another generation of students, that is generation Alpha, which is recent generation, you can say, which they are born since 2010. So remember these names: generation Z, generation Alpha. So these generation Alpha, again you can say far ahead than generation Z, and they can also be the people who are born in from this period, from 2010. They are younger than smartphones. iPad and smartphones were already built before them. They have seen 3D television, Instagram, music stream, all social networking sites, etc. So you can say that this generation, like generation Alpha, will be first generation who is likely to see the 22nd century. We are now in 21st century, and we will not be alive till that 22nd century. But this generation will be there to face 22nd century in large numbers. So you can imagine in 21st century, there is so many new things which are happening. Everything is changing so fast. So 22nd century will be far ahead of this. Now, more information about this generation. So speaking about this generation, growing up with this level of technology, obviously they have seen technology from the day they are born. So they are, this technology is at their fingerprints. Like they are they are at very ease using this technology. And this generation kids, you can say, they are like for few minutes or few hours they're away from their mobile, but everything on tip of their fingertips, they get what information they need, etc. And these generation, as they are very tech savvy, they are able to teach themselves about any topic they are interested, even without learning, leaving without their bedroom, even without going to schools. Everything they can learn. Even now we can also learn. So many things are there, but we are speaking about this particular generation, generation Alpha. So now if you see current students from this generation, they have grown up with this advanced technology, and this advanced technology is present in their homes, in their classrooms, etc. Everywhere it is present. And they are also, you can say, digital natives, where digital they are very comfortable using digital applications, digital devices, etc. And in fact, they are more, even if you see, they are teaching their grandparents, their parents, how to use this technology, current generation. And no one teaches them. They learn by themselves only. So this was about current 21st century students, generation Z and generation Alpha. Next, we will move to, as many of you attending this FDP are professors of 21st century, are teachers of 21st century. So at this time, as your traditional role where we used to teach from textbooks and all, and students used to learn, they were not aware about new things. But today's generation or today's time, if you see, teachers, students have access to Google. So students will attend your class, or children can attend your class where you give them some extra information, or you have to be their guide, their mentor for students. You don't, information obviously you are going to give, professors are going to teach them, but now they are well versed with technology. Many things they learn by themselves. And many times it is like students know more than teachers regarding that topic. So 21st century teachers have to struggle that you should have that much more knowledge more than students. So that's something more than Google you should be telling to your students, so that students attend your class and they feel your lecture interesting. Because today's generation have access to so many resources, and they are obviously they know more than teachers on different topics. Maybe some latest topics if you ask them. If you tell me how to use Snapchat, so many things I don't know, which my students tell me that yes, Snapchat, you have this feature, you have that feature. So many a times we are lacking in technology, but today's century teachers, you have to be upgraded. Teachers need to be empowered as facilitator. You have to be facilitator of knowledge to students. You have to be motivator. You have to be guide to your students. You have to mentor your students, help them in gaining information to make them learn. But with this online courses and all, many things they learn by themselves. This means teachers need to be forward thinking. You know, there are many teachers I have also seen in my school time and in my college time. If you tell them something that, ma'am, this is wrong, or maybe this has been upgraded, so many professors feel offended that my student is telling me like that. But in today's time, you should be happy if students are telling you that, yes, ma'am, this is new thing in market, or this is updated. Yes, you can accept it, and you can say that, yes, I don't know this thing. This happens because they are tech savvy. Students are studying and reading so much. Even we are reading, but many times it happens that we are not upgraded sometimes. So simple questions what teachers have to ask is, what will my students need 20 or 50 years from now? You have to keep in mind this thing. What important skills my students will require when they will enter into job market, or what important skills are required for them to succeed in life. So in that way, you have to keep in these things, you have to keep in mind and prepare your students. How can I help them to in those skills? How can I build them their skills, etc. So if you keep this mindset, you will be a leader, and you can bring change in your classroom, in your school, in your community, which is important for 21st century teachers. So before moving to digital education, see this image, and anyone can give me your viewpoint about this image. Anyone, you can just unmute yourself and tell me.
Running towards technology.
Very nice. Anyone else?
We should not left behind.
Yeah, ma'am, it's showing the that people's and kids and students are going for the online educations due to COVID-19 outbreak.
Okay. Anyone else? Person who is sitting, can you elaborate on that? This you are both of you, ma'am, you have elaborated about this. Can you elaborate on this? The person who is sitting here in classroom, something.
The person, it is the backward class, we can say.
Okay, great, ma'am. Anything else?
Moving forward from classroom learning to e-learning.
Okay, great.
And the person sitting is left behind.
Can you tell me, ma'am, reasons why he's left behind? Any reasons?
Because he's
Because
not
technologies.
Okay, great. Any other reason?
He is not willing to adopt technology.
Okay.
Today is the day of e-learning, and in everything we see, we need this. चाहे हम पिक्चर देखने जाएं, चाहे हम बैंक में जाएं, रेलवे टिकट्स है, in every field we need the e-learning.
Okay, great. So I will elaborate on this image. You can mute. Thank you, ma'am. So this image, you can see students are moving towards technology. They are moving towards technology, but this student who is sitting, maybe other students are also sitting. There are many reasons. Maybe he's not willing to adopt. Maybe there is chance of digital divide. I'm going to discuss this topic, digital divide, in detail. Maybe he's not having access to internet. He's living in some rural areas. He's not having access to that. He's not able to afford digital education. So many reasons might be there. So it is these students are moving to learn, but you can see the student is sitting in classroom. And if you keep into consideration the today's situation, what is happening, so again he will be left out due to any reason, maybe no internet connectivity, no data connectivity, etc. Any reason, or is not comfortable in digital education. Okay, we'll move ahead. Now, digital education, your books, mix of books and your PC. You're using digital apps in your cell phone, in your PC. So many apps you're using to keep yourself digitally educated. Now, before moving to digital education, I would like to discuss in detail about digital divide. Can anyone tell me what do you mean by digital divide, if anyone is aware about?
The people who are not aware, who don't have the knowledge about technological aspects.
Okay.
That is, they are the people who are willing to know, but maybe, as you have just told, because of the less
Ma'am, I can't hear your voice. I can't hear your voice.
Because of the less resources, or because of not proper awareness, that is the reason they are not able to understand, and they are not able to access it towards
Availability of
technology.
connectivity of
Oh, very
digital
nice.
media.
Yeah, non-availability of connectivity. You can say people are not aware. They are digitally illiterate also. You can say because of these reasons, digital divide is created. You can see this image. Some people have connectivity and here people don't have connectivity. From this image, you can see how there is difference in digital divide. See this. This is, you can say, urban area. This is urban area, car and all. You're using iPad. You're using laptop. And other side, this is village, you can say, or some rural areas, where still there is blackboard model used, there is no technology, there is less internet connectivity. Still in India, if you take into consideration India and rural areas, still there is 2G connectivity. Still 2G is going on there. So this is basically, this image can depict about digital divide. Now, keeping in mind this COVID situation, you can see this information given by UNESCO. So from when lockdown started, basically from in India, it started from 16-17 March. In other countries, it started in February itself. So you can see number of learners who are impacted by national school closures worldwide. This is school database, it is aware. This is database of only schools, upper secondary and lower secondary primary section. So you can imagine currently till you can see now number might be more. 1.38 billion students are still deprived of education because of this online thing. They don't have access to internet, or their connectivity problem they are facing, or they don't have this what to say, laptop, computer at your home. Take example, if in your family there are 4 people, mother, father and 2 children. So both children have to take online session. Even mother and father, sometimes they have work from home facility. So one instrument at home, only 1 or 2 instruments at home, it is not possible for everyone to take online classes. So this many problems are there. We will discuss in detail. So see this, just keep in mind this image. Now, students are beating this, you can say, they are battling literally this digital divide. 1.26 billion, or this number is obviously increased now. So UNESCO has given these numbers. UNESCO is, full form of UNESCO is United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization. And you can see this is basically the number of children which is given. This is 70 approximately. This is approximate figure I'm telling you. This is 72% of world students population which are deprived from this education because of this pandemic issue. And if you take into consideration India's students, India comprises of over 320 million of these learners, and it is still uncertain when they are going to return to schools and colleges. Like what I am aware about, I'm from Maharashtra, Mumbai. Maharashtra is worst affected. So there are chances that they were telling that colleges are going to start maybe in December. And we have stopped, colleges have been stopped from March. So we don't know what is going to happen. There are so many issues of social distancing and all, how they are going to manage. Have to wait and watch. So students are literally battling this. You can see this in villages, where in rural areas also, in semi-urban areas also. Don't think that urban areas have very good internet connectivity. They are also facing problems. So this image of digital divide, as you can see, where some schools have started giving online education. There is only one cell phone and so many students are learning from there. So you can imagine the level of this digital divide in rural areas. I will show you a survey which is done. Okay, now I would like to clarify first. This is a survey done Can Dinesh sir, can you just stop this annotations?
Second. Which one, ma'am?
Sir, someone is scribbling on screen. So one option is there because you're host, so you can do that. You have to stop annotations.
1 second.
So that the scribbling will not happen. Okay, so so I'll discuss with you this survey. In Maharashtra, there are survey going on in all states. You can say in all states of India, but this survey which I have taken is of Maharashtra, where Active Teachers Forum, that is known as ATF, which comprises of teachers, researchers, and activists in Maharashtra. They recently conducted a survey in government schools. Okay, see, first understand this topic, and then all analysis, what results came, we will discuss. So where they conducted this survey in government schools, not in private and CBSE, IB board schools, where obviously students have access to technology, they are and they are paying so much fees, so they have access to internet, technology, everything. So which type of students or which schools are basically suffering is government schools in rural and urban areas of Maharashtra state. So when this study was done, so I am just discussing with you, I'm not discussing any methodology and all, I am just discussing with you some conclusions which came up from this survey. So this study revealed that only 27% of parents of students surveyed in 1186 schools had smartphones. They have surveyed approximately more than 1200 schools, government schools in Maharashtra, and only 27% parents said that yes, we have smartphones. Others were not having smartphones, they were having that small phones, normal phones, and no access to computers also. Out of this 1.67 lakh students which they have surveyed, only 11.61% have laptops or desktops at home. Or someone might be having smartphones, but smartphone figure also you have seen here. Smartphone percentage is also less. In urban areas, this we were speaking about basically rural areas. If you take example of urban areas, in urban areas also only 14% of parents said that they have smartphones compared to 20% in rural areas, because rural population is more as compared to urban. Now, what was conclusion made? Take example, if you are not having this all smart devices, this laptops and all, what was this conclusion made? Dinesh sir, can you stop this annotation?
Yeah, I'm just checking, ma'am.
Yeah. What was conclusion made from this? See, when government, what suggestion they gave to government is, you should start doing online sessions or online lectures through television. Show it on television. Already Kerala government has started. Andhra Pradesh government has started. Maharashtra government is in pipeline, and other governments are also working on that. So that, take example, if they are showing some topic on economics, or they are start teaching us some algebra topic, which is common for many students, to show it on various government channels or on television or on radio, so that people who don't have access to mobile handsets or internet, they can also get access. Similarly, other suggestion made was, as government has made midday meal, everyone is aware why government has started this midday meal scheme, because many students go for eating these meals, they attend school only for these meals, and many students who below poverty line and all, they get something to eat. So this midday meal have attracted various students to go to school. In similar line, they have suggested that government should assist parents to get an internet pack. Even if they have some people are having cell phone, people are maybe having smartphones, but they are not having internet connectivity. Keeping in mind this current situation, this survey is done. So you can imagine here, people don't have money to eat. The jobs cut is happening, salary they are not, colleges or corporates are paying half salary, or they are not paying salary. So in this situation where you don't have money to eat, daily wage earners have been affected tremendously. So you can imagine, if they don't have money to eat, how they will do recharge, internet pack recharge and all. And if continuously you are listening to online sessions and all, your pack also gets completed. So they have given suggestion to government that at least you should assist parents for internet pack connectivity, or give them some expenses, little bit, half expenses also you can give them, so that they be connected to internet and they attend sessions. Again, very, very important point about this survey is, the most affected would be girls. Now how? they have done survey on this topic also. What conclusion they got is, everyone is aware that Modi government has came up with this campaign, Beti Bachao, Beti Padhao campaign, where they have told that improve, tell your girls, send your girls, children, girl kids to your school, give them education, etc. But keeping in mind the situation and all, girls are busy in this as a household work, safety, distancing, social distancing you have to maintain, and in villages and urban rural areas, early marriages of girls takes place. What survey concluded here is, according to teachers of this government school who have done this survey, parents said that as we have limited smartphones, we have less connectivity of internet, we will prefer that our boys continue education rather than girls. Like example, if parents are having 2 kids, if they are having 4 kids, so in that if boys are there, they will prefer that boys continue education, because again they will help us in our earlier ahead in future life, etc. Girls will anyway get married and all. This backward mentality is still there in various regions, rural regions. So they told that we will continue a boys education, we will not continue girls education. So you can imagine how this situation is becoming every day more difficult. So basic conclusion of this survey was, if digital education is future, keeping in mind all this situation, okay, even if the situation is going to go, but in further, if you see in future, there will be a blended learning. What do you mean by blended learning? Blended learning is a mix of online and offline, you can say. So if digital education is future, all children must get benefit. This digital divide should not come in between. So for that, government has to take various initiatives and have to come up with innovative techniques, so that everyone get access, or majority of them get access to online learning or online digital education. So this was about survey. Next is about, now we are going to discuss about issues, which is our topic, contemporary issues in traditional education and issues in digital education. So coming to issues, we will also discuss some advantages, disadvantages. So these topics with pointers which we are going to discuss is about in favor of digital education. That is basically advantages of digital education. So what advantages digital education have? That will be disadvantage of traditional education, obviously. So what advantages they have, digital education, that will be disadvantage or issues in traditional education. So first point, you can see here, when taking a course online, a student has to be more flexible. Whenever you take online education, so student become flexible, because you have time, flexible timings, anytime, anywhere you can take. You have, yes, obviously deadlines are there. You have to submit your work in deadlines, but your schedule becomes flexible, which is not there in traditional education. For traditional education, you have to visit college, you have to go to school, etc. So there you don't have flexibility. Whatever schedule is there, whatever session, whatever subject is decided, that at that time you have to sit and you have to attend. Second is, an obvious benefit of taking online courses is basically your timing is saved. Your time is saved. More than your time, your money is saved, your petrol money, lunch, etc. Whatever you are spending, that is saved. Please mute. That is saved. So these are some advantages, and that are disadvantages for traditional education. In many cases, you know, in traditional education, when so many people are there in one classroom and continuously, sometimes they distract you, they continuously ask doubt to professor. Sometimes when asking doubts, they go to totally different topic, they go to off track, they ask questions. So that thing can be distraction for other students. So if you do online education, that is a benefit. But this is issue of traditional education. Basically, whole classroom can sometimes, when you ask questions, when you discuss, that can be distraction for some students. Then comes your other issues in online in traditional education. Sometimes in online education, what happens is, benefit of an online education, you can say, or digital education is there. Anytime you can attend sessions, anytime you can, even if you miss at that time, you can watch recording. But that doesn't happen in traditional education. So major drawback is of traditional education is, you have to be present there at that time. You have to complete if you miss class, you will not get recording and all. So you can't miss your classes also even if you have some important work and all. Next is your digital education has been option for many, many years. Now you can see digital education is flourishing from so many years, but earlier also there was distance education. Distance education was there. If someone want to complete its degree or want some new course to be done, so what they used to do, they used to enroll for distance education. Distance education is basically you enroll for that course and only you have to go to give exam there. Then comes your distance education. Education has been always an option, especially for whom? For people who are housewife, you can say, or people who are working. They don't have time to visit on full-time courses, full-time classes, etc. So digital education plays a very important role there. But that is again a drawback for traditional education. Next comes your online program. In online program, if you do digital education, simultaneously you can obtain degrees, you can obtain certificates, even if you can do 3 to 4 online courses together. But this doesn't happen in traditional education. And in traditional education, you have to go there, you have to visit there, and your expenses are also increasing. Many, many online programs have been started by various institutions. There are various online platforms like Udemy, Coursera, EDX, etc., where you can take n number of courses. And now they have also kept some courses for free because of this COVID-19 situation. So many people are taking advantage of that. Now, digital learning is less expensive. Can anyone tell me why digital learning is less expensive? You can just unmute and tell me.
No transportation charges.
Nice. Anything else?
No payment of rent.
Students don't want to pay the amount of money.
Yes. No payment of rent. You don't. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Instead of other expenses, only the net expenses for net internet charges are applicable.
Yes. Very nice. So when you
No
do
running
online,
charges.
yeah, when you do online learning, your expenses are your internet activity, internet expenses, or maybe if you don't have device, once you have to purchase that device, either laptop or cell phone, etc. But there are so many things. If you do digital learning, so many things, or so on, you will save on so many things. Like example, you can take rent. If someone said rent, you can save on your expenses, traveling expenses, food expenses, etc. Tuition fees. You might be aware tuition fees of big institution are so many charges are there, and in online courses you will see that comparatively less charges you are paying because so many expenses are saved. So one of the main benefits of online learning, which is an issue at traditional education, is, take example, if I am teaching you this is our online session, we are going to share with you PPT. Take example, if this same session is happening in college and sometimes professors are there, they don't share study material. So that
is what we are getting world-class education at home.
Yeah, world-class education at home you're getting. So there are many, many professors I've seen, sometimes they don't even share their PPT. Books, so anyways you're going to get from library. So one of the benefits of online learning is you can anytime access your educational material. You can download it and keep. You can again go to that course and you can save your material. But that doesn't happen in traditional education. And other disadvantage you can say of traditional education or issue in traditional education is that is not self-paced. Take example, if I am a slow learner or I am intelligent but I can understand little bit slow. Take example, if in college my professor is teaching me, she taught me once that topic, but that time that topic was not clear to me. But if you do online education, that same topic you can read again, you can listen that recording again, and maybe in second or third time you understand that topic if that topic is difficult or any technical topic. But in classroom, that is not self-paced. In classroom, you can't tell your professor, please rewind it, please tell me again. Yes, some topics if you ask professor, he will tell you, he or she will tell you. But he will not tell, whole session will not be covered again. So this is major drawback of traditional education. Now, moving to advantages of traditional education and issues, contemporary issues in digital education. In digital education, which is very widely used now, but there are so many issues in digital education also. So, and that issues which you have in digital education, that are advantages for traditional education. So, e-learning can cause social isolation. Can anyone tell me what do you mean by social isolation? Very, very important point. Can anyone elaborate?
Feeling of loneliness.
Very nice. Social isolation is loneliness. See, in school, you can take example of kids who are in primary, pre-primary, secondary session. They are very happy when they go to school. They meet with teachers. Even we, like if example, if we are not going college, we are sitting at home, and there is so much social isolation here. When you go to corporate or when you're going to your company, you meet with so many people, you discuss with so many people, many things. So your mind is, you can say, divided. But now at home, continuously, sometimes you feel loneliness. Only you have to go and teach from here. And many times, some sessions, like now, if I'm asking you a question, you are replying me. Many times, some sessions are not interactive because if many people are attending that session, you have some limitations because everyone can't unmute and speak. So there are many issues in digital education. First issue is social isolation, which students you can say to professionals, all are facing this. E-learning requires strong self-motivation and time management skills. What do you mean by self-motivation? Take example, if you are attending traditional education, you are attending session in college. That time professor will give you deadline. Professor will tell you, yes, you have to complete this thing in this time. And you are motivated by your professor, teacher motivates you. Yes, obviously self-motivation is required there. But in this e-learning, you have to be 100% self-motivated. You have to complete that course. No one is going to motivate you. And you also have to manage your time in e-learning. Why you have to manage your time? Again, there are some deadlines of assignments. If you're doing any course, there are some deadlines. They are giving you some time. Many a times, what we do, take example, if my e-learning course is of 1 month. 1 month. 3 weeks, I have not done anything. 3 weeks, I was not doing anything. I need certificate. So I am just working for last one week. In last 1 week, I have completed that whole course. Okay, so this thing happened. For that, you require time management, etc. Next, very, very important issue in digital education is lack of communication skill development. Communication skills can be taught in digital education. They can be taught. But again, what communication skills which you will learn study in your traditional education, there is major difference. Yes, courses are there. Teachers also try to communicate you, but face-to-face interaction is again a different thing. And many people till now prefer that there should be face-to-face interaction. E-learning lacks face-to-face communication. Yes, now face-to-face communication is there. I can tell you that, ma'am, everyone please on your videos, or professor is, but then too there is a lot of difference when you meet face-to-face. So this is major issue which we are facing in digital education. Again, very important point is e-learning is limited to certain disciplines. Certain disciplines, certain fields. You can't conduct 100% e-learning course in all professions, in all disciplines. Can anyone tell me which is that profession where 100% e-learning can't happen?
Engineering and medicine. We have
engineering and medicine. This is one example. Any other field? Any other field?
Biotechnology.
Biotechnology, very nice. Any other field?
Where are they using practical? It's not able to do that.
Sir, your voice is not clear, sir.
Most of the skill-based programs.
Very good. Most of the skill-based programs, you can say. Medical engineering.
E-learning can't take place in all the biology subjects. E-learning is not fruitful in the biology subjects.
Yeah, biology subjects, medical field, engineering field, this aeronautical engineering. So many fields are there where you require practical experience, where you can't teach dissection of a human body on online. You require face-to-face learning. So e-learning is limited to certain disciplines. Some disciplines where e-learning, yes, you can teach in these professions, in biotechnology or in engineering. You can teach e-learning. You can use for theory part, you can say. But for practical part, it is very important to be there. Yes, some of the practical parts can also be taught here. But again, many things are required to be where your physical presence is required to learn that skills. Online learning is inaccessible to computer illiterate population. This is major issue which we discussed about digital education. So many a times in people are not computer literate. So online learning will again be inaccessible to them. Again, if you don't have your internet connectivity, that is a major issue. This is not happening only in India. As we discussed about this survey which we have discussed, that was about India. But not only India, if you read newspapers and everywhere, even USA is facing problem. Forget about underdeveloped countries like Nigeria, North Africa and all. Forget about that. They are facing many issues. But take example of our India as a developing country. Obviously, developing countries are facing issues. India is facing issue. Reason 60 to 70% of population still lives in rural areas. So you can imagine the level of computer illiterate people and who don't have access to internet connectivity. Developing countries are facing. Leave developing countries also. We will move to developed countries. Developed countries, every now and then there is news articles where even in USA students are not able to access this internet issue they are having. Internet connectivity is less. So when I was reading these articles in newspaper, I was shocked, keeping in mind US is a developed country, and it is, you can say, if you see GDP of US, it's like far notch ahead by second. US is number one country in terms of GDP, approximately 17-18 trillion dollars. So you can imagine if such developed countries are facing issues of this computer illiteracy, or not computer illiteracy, they are basically facing problem of digital divide there in US. So you can assume that how much problems these developing countries have been facing because of this. So there are various things where solutions government is coming up, state governments, central governments are coming up with solutions. Maybe slowly and gradually we get solutions for these issues. Again, very important issue which we are facing in this online education is a lack of accreditation and quality assurance. As you are all aware, colleges in India, they get NAC accreditation, they get NBA accreditation. So accreditation plays a very important role, A+ and NBA accreditation. Here in online courses, there is lack of accreditation. Yes, accreditation body is there. There are one or two very well-known accreditation bodies for only online education, but on many colleges or many platforms are not using this. I doubt if you have seen that this online course is accredited by this or this authority. Very rarely they are doing, and maybe in other developed countries they have started doing it, but India till now there is no accreditation for online education. This is about accreditation. We will move to quality. There is no any body present till now who will give you quality assurance. How much quality is there in your material, or what level of material you are providing to students who are learning from your course. No one has guaranteed that the material is of good quality or mediocre quality, etc. So there should be bodies who will assure that quality of material is there and students are learning all updated information. So these are some disadvantage issues in, okay, more issues are there. Favors, these are some issues in favor of traditional education, some advantages of traditional education. In traditional education, as you know, these all things are there. Face-to-face communication is there. You can learn any discipline face-to-face in traditional education, but these are issues, contemporary issues in digital education. Now, again, more issues of traditional education. Very important issues where colleges who are even taking online assessment, online exams, or corporates who are taking online tests, or any other course which you are doing online. Important issue which many of them are facing is cheating prevention. Take example, you can see my image, you can see my video, you can only see my face. You can't see whether I'm copying anything or what I'm doing, what I'm writing, any book is open. No one can see that. So this cheating has become a very, you can say, important issue in this online assessment. Now, there are solutions, there are organizations which are trying to remove this hurdle. And they are trying to remove this hurdle of online assessment to prevent cheating. How? One example I can give you is Examity. This is a US-based company. We will discuss this. In India, I have not seen this till now, but in US it is present. We will discuss about Examity. I thought that everyone should be aware about this platform which is there, who is avoiding that less and less cheating should be there. Examity is a platform that serves online course providers with proctoring service. What do you mean by proctor? Proctor is basically who supervisor. You are aware when exam takes place, supervisor is there. Supervisor see whether someone is copying or not, etc. Similarly, this proctor service they give, how they give this service, you can read this data for statistics before moving to for more detail. This statistics about online education is this industry is expected to grow from 4 billion market to $21 billion by 2023, maybe more. Now, what this Examity does, Examity offers you mobile ID verification. There is separate ID for that, there will be biometric authentication, your fingerprint, your face identification, your voice recognition, so that instead of you, someone else should not give exam. This happens in online courses. Take example, if my brother is an engineer, some engineering courses or some software I'm studying, R I'm studying or Python I'm studying. So if that software my brother is very well versed, I tell him that you take my test and I will get certificate. These things are happening in online education. So this Examity is trying to remove that hurdle by giving some services like fingerprint, face recognition, voice recognition, and there is also a live authentication, whether that person is same, to confirm students' identity, etc. during that exam, when exam is conducted. Now, again, moving ahead to this, once your verification is done, take example, if my college or my company is customer of Examity, they also give you option to live proctoring. Live, when you give exam, they will proctor you, whether you are there or you are only sitting, etc. So how they do this? There are various proprietary machine learning algorithms who detect your unusual behavior. They also detect some information from your screenshots. They continuously take your screenshots when you're giving exam, or audio files, video files, etc. You can see not only your online education, but your corporate e-learning. What do you mean by corporate e-learning? Many companies, when you join, they give you training, what all things you have to know. So basically this training is online courses are there. It is already recorded courses where you have to take learning, and you have to take that sessions and give test. For taking test also, it can happen. If I'm giving online test, I can open that PDF and I can see answers from them and give test. So corporates also don't want this cheating. Even corporates are approaching this Examity, and Amazon is one of the biggest client of Examity. So you can see corporate e-learning market is also going to grow from roughly $20 billion to $30 billion by 2022. Many times corporates say, if you want to give training, the theoretical training is there. Even for practical training, sometimes they have online recorded lectures where they tell you to listen and increase your knowledge. So as online learning becomes important, it is not just classroom, but also workplace, universities, and employers all are thinking about security and about integrity of test taking experience. So this Examity is helping these corporates, and this is a US-based company, Mercedes-based company, where they are helping companies, colleges. He's having currently more than 600 to 700 colleges under Examity are registered. It's growing, it's continuously growing, and they are continuously getting funding from venture capital companies, where various rounds funding this Examity has got to increase more and more penetration of this. Maybe very soon you will get this in India also. So now we will discuss some facts about this lockdown, about this COVID situation, how this digital has grown, and how people have started moving towards digital. Digital is, even after having so many issues, digital is going to be there. It is going to be there for longer time. Yes, I'm not saying that traditional issue will go, traditional learning, traditional education will go away. It will be there. But again, as I'm repeating here, many colleges and institutions are going to follow blended learning, or maybe 100% online learning. So they are working to make this online experience more like traditional experience. They are working towards it. We will discuss about Zoom software, which we are using. In my later slides, we will discuss. Now, some statistics about lockdown. As an estimate by Cellular Operations Association, India has seen that average data consumption, average internet consumption has been increased by 30% due to lockdown. Other important thing which you have seen, as everyone is aware, there are so many online conferences apps present in market. There is Microsoft Teams, Google also has, you have WebEx, etc. So many, Cisco's WebEx is there. Zoom is very popular, and Zoom has got unprecedented growth with 29% increase in its daily users. You can imagine 2900%. This is 2900%, not 500%, 200%, but 2900% increase in their daily users who are using Zoom. And again, how our government has used this digital, how government has gone digital. Everyone is aware about this Arogya Setu app, which is compulsory. They are telling that if you want to go to any college or any place, if you are visiting, you should have this app. If you are going to using airports, you are using flights, you're going by flight, they will tell you that show us this Arogya Setu app. They will see COVID cases nearby your area where you're staying, etc. So this app has become one of the most downloaded apps in this lockdown. Next, all your banking, your public utility services, including delivery of commodities, delivery of liquor, so many things have been gone digital. This is the case with education also. Almost 90% of all students worldwide are affected by lockdown, as we have done. I have told you about the UNESCO, and it is also creating problems for most of the students in India, because of this internet connectivity and what all issues they are facing. You can see in Byju's, all this digital learning platform, Byju's, there is Coursera, EDX, etc. Number of percentile search has been increased. Continuously people are taking online learning because the schools are not functioning, or maybe if schools are functioning, they want to learn something extra. Many private schools I have seen are 100% functioning, but all government schools, I have many of schools in Maharashtra, they have not started till now online learning. So this applications or online learning applications, you will see demand has been increased. Again, 100% they are trying to move this education online, but 100% it is difficult to move in this situation. But then too, as this World Economic Forum, WEF, reports that there is increase in the use of language apps, different language apps, virtual tutor, online tuition teachers have started giving, because of this social distancing and COVID issue, we are not allowed to go to someone's place, or parents are not comfortable to send their children. So online tutor or dance classes have also started. So many classes online have started. Video conferencing tools, you have various online learning softwares. And from last 3 months, many softwares have also come into existence. And already with softwares were there, their sales have been increased manifold times. Classes on Zoom, WhatsApp, Skype, etc. becomes very norm or common for parents, teachers, etc. But again, I would say that this abrupt transition, transition was so fast. No one thought that if a college closed or schools closed from 15th March until now we are at home, no colleges and schools have not started. No one have been expected that it is a challenging issue, not only for students but for professors, for teachers, for parents, everyone. But I can say that this online hardly compensate for the absence of classroom experience. So again, this is my viewpoint. There are pros, cons of everything. So we should try to balance both. You can see this image. Can anyone elaborate this image? Anyone?
Ma'am, this is like our mind will be more occupied with the digital.
Yes.
And it is already occupied basically.
Yeah, it's already occupied, yes. So you can see this, the person continuously, sometimes, I'll give you my example. As I'm teaching you, my laptop is in front of me. I am using some digital pad for underlining and use. Cell phone is beside me, something else is open in my cell phone. So 3 instruments I'm using now to teach you. A similar way, when any student is learning, mobile phone also is having, sometimes video lectures he is looking from in his laptop, mobile is seeing notes. So 2-3 devices are, many people are using this. So you can imagine everywhere there is social networking, there is digital education in brain of a student, or even brain of a teachers also. So many FDPs, online tests, everything is going on. So some statement given, recently the statement was given by chairman of UGC. We are seeing at this time that COVID-19 and even later when all this is over, we will push online education. See, take into consideration India's situation. There are so many online courses available on Swayam. Swayam is there, NTPL, PL. You get online courses on varied subjects, and courses are delivered by top-notch professors from different good institutions, well-known institutions, IIMs, IITs, etc. So this chairman of UGC has said that we are going to move, even if this situation is normal, we are going to move ahead in online education. We want to improve our gross enrollment ratio of our country. Number of people who are studying, number of people who are enrolling should increase. Even if they are not able to come physically, but at least they are learning online. So this was a recent statement given by UGC's chairman. Now, have you heard about this term black swan events, etc.? Anyone? There was a book by Nicholas Taleb, Black Swan. Anyone has heard? Or you are having any, if you are know about little information also you can just share with me if you are aware about this term black swan. Okay. So what is this black swan? This term black swan, I will start with this term from where this term came. The term black swan was popularized by former Wall Street trader Nassim Nicholas Taleb, who wrote this concept in his book 2001. The name of book was Fooled by Randomness. Okay, if you get time, read this book. It's a very amazing book. This term was given by Nicholas Taleb in 2001 in his book. Now, what is this black swan event? Take example, have you seen swan which is black in color? Anyone has seen till now? Anyone?
Oh.
But there is black swan available. Once in someone have seen this black swan somewhere. We have only seen this white swan. So 1 or 2 or you can say 10 swans are there which are black in color. So what this trader, what this Nassim Taleb has said about this event is, this black swan event is commonly used in world of finance, which can be extremely negative event or occurrence that is impossibly difficult to predict. You know, once in blue moon that event happened, there was a recession, Asian crisis were there. Asian crisis happened in 1997. Then there was subprime crisis, which happened in 2008. See, it is one-off event. You will not see again this event. Take example of this COVID situation. Do you think this situation of lockdown, this has not happened in so many years? It happened now. Will it happen again? Rarely, I think it will happen. So such events which are unexpected, which are once you can say once or twice a blue moon. In other words, black swan events are events that are unexpected and unknowable. No one was knowing that if lockdown happened from March 17, that we will not go anywhere. It will be so harsh and so many things we have to follow. Even if now lockdown was opened, but still so many, so much care we have to take to save yourself from this situation. So black swan events are that events which are unexpected and which we were not knowing what is going to happen. Have any professor thought that I am not tech savvy, I am not able to use internet, I'm not able to use these devices, but now compulsory I have to use it because situation is demanding this thing. So you can imagine such type of events are there which are unexpected and unknowable. So this situation of this COVID, of online learning during this COVID-19, it is said by some commentators or education commentators, or you can say top-notch people of education, they have said that this movement can be a black swan movement, where once in blue moon this can happen, and this movement can be good also, it can be bad also. It can affect you, it can give you advantage also, it can be disadvantages also. So this black swan event of online education, it can be a reversal of its fortune for widespread adoption of in higher education, which online learning. It can be like now, as everyone is aware, if companies have come to know that 50%, 70% workforce of IT sector can work from home. Many IT companies have come up with this thing that yes, from 2025 or 2022, 50% of our workforce will work from home. In this situation, many companies came to know that it is not necessary that everyone should come to office to work. So this online learning or digital education can be a black swan moment where higher education will for always adopt this online education, or it can be a backlash also. It can be a backlash also. Currently, if you see situation, keeping in mind India's situation of rural areas where students are suffering, it can backfire you over its lower quality of education is low, or effectiveness is less as compared to traditional instruction. So still we don't know what is going to happen. Maybe as time passes, you will come to know whether it was good or whether it was bad. That depends on success of various emergency applications. What government is doing, what colleges are doing, how you are improving your online education, how you are improving your experience of students, and how you are connecting interaction with students. So nowadays in online education also interactions are there. Students can raise hands and ask questions, etc. But till now, if you see, till now, that can't beat your traditional education. Keeping in mind other advantages of online education, but this very important disadvantage of face-to-face communication, we are still lacking in digital education. Yeah, can you elaborate this image? Anyone? Anyone, can you elaborate?
Yes, ma'am. The boy is completely away from the blackboard or copy pencil practice, but he's completely indulged in the technological mode of education.
Very nice. Thank you, ma'am.
And he's having a wrong posture also. The body language is the posture is also not correct.
Yes, very nice. See, continuously engrossed in technology. Blackboard is there, but he's seeing technology, which is the current situation. You can see body posture. Continuously, you are sitting in front of laptop, continuously sitting in front of PC, where for children, we say that we are not going to give them mobile for more than 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Now, junior KG, senior KG children are sitting 2 to 3 hours for sessions in front of PC. If you don't have laptop, again in front of small computer. You can imagine how much stress or strain their eyes might be having, and even other stress. And this degree, you can see this online degree now you're getting. This is pencil, this is gone. Online degree you're getting. So digital education is a 21st century learning. I'm focusing more on digital education. Traditional education, everyone is aware. We have discussed some points on traditional education. More focus is on digital education because currently we are into that mode. So digital education, preferably a full or partly synchronous experience. What is synchronous? Synchronous and asynchronous. Synchronous is basically your live teaching, you can say, where you have to be present there at that time. Teacher has to be there. Take example, if lectures we are taking now, this session was going to start at 10 a.m. So it was there that at 10 a.m. you have to be present. That is synchronous experience. And in online education also, companies, schools are trying that there should be live sessions rather than recorded sessions. And we are also taking care that students can speak at any time whenever teachers speak to them or anything, and they can unmute themselves, instructor can read, instructor can listen. Real-time things are there. Interaction has been increasing. Another option, I'm giving you here example of Zoom only. Another option, if you have some question, so you are having option of virtual hand raises. That ma'am, I have doubt. Can I ask you? I can see your hand and I'll tell you yes. You can ask me question. The instructor has also icon to speak to any student face to face. You can speak to any student. You can tell your students to unmute, and students can listen. Even you have option of whiteboards available there. Slides, as I'm sharing my slides. You can choose your own material, what you have to share, what you have to show, which image you have to show, etc. You also have option in Zoom where you can conduct in-class small group discussions. Small chat box rooms are there where, take example, if there is a class of 50 students and I have given them some GD topic or some topic to discuss. So I can divide this 50 students into 10. 5 groups of 10 students each, and separate I'll put them in separate chat rooms. So only that 10 students will chat. Others can now not listen. So this option is also available in Zoom. So now you can see these online platforms are trying to be like classroom traditional education. They are trying to give that feel. They are working towards it. how much it's successful, that like participants like you and me will decide. So here I would like to end my session. You can ask me questions.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am, for the wonderful session. Now the floor is open for interaction. Participants, you can ask questions.
Hello, ma'am. First of all, let me congratulate. Your enthusiasm and energy is very vibrant and full.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Excellent presentation, ma'am.
Excellent presentation also.
Thank you so much,
but the
sir.
point is, ma'am, like when we are going into era where more of digital would be there. I'm talking about especially small kids.
Yes.
I mean, how we are going to address those issues? These small screens of 7 inches, 6 inches would harm more. Probably one option, what I think is that they should be given, you know, smart TVs rather than the smartphones, because their probably screen would be much larger. But still, the time they are devoting on that is very high. I mean,
sir, I would like to share my experience with you in this case. Sir, my daughter is in junior KG, and there every day 2.5 hour session is there, and compulsory parent has to sit. Parent has to sit, and if you don't sit, if parent is not there, they mark you absent. And take example, I'm also working. I'm having online sessions. My college is working. So at that time, I'm having my college sessions also. So I need laptop. So many a time it happens that I don't give her laptop and she uses cell phone. So again, that is more problematic for her. So
when the institutions will open and schools will remain closed, this problem is going to zoom.
Yes, sir. So that is the situation. Again, if you see, there are, if I give you two sides of a coin, some parents are saying that at one time you are telling that students are not schools are not taking sessions. So if schools will not take sessions, you will not pay fees to schools. Second situation is, if schools are taking sessions, then also we have problem, because continuously children are there, and sir, they are giving homework also to students. Even in her school, which is again a well-known school in Mumbai, where they are also taking this football sessions in online. So that's virtually football sessions. And how that coach will do, similar way you also do. Then that football goes to that, it hits my door, it hits my dining table, etc. So such courses also they are taking online.
So I think some kind of regulatory or guideline framework has to be made.
Yes, sir. I think so. All regulatory body, government is also working. Even state government, central governments, all are working towards it. Let's see how much, because this sudden situation no one was expecting, and in small span, government is working very hard, and various along with private institutions they are working.
But digital probably, I mean, for next 20 years you cannot avoid.
Yes, no, sir. I think 20 years so far ahead. As we spoke about Generation Alpha, sir, they will be 100% digital. I think so.
I said at least.
Yeah.
So आगे का तो कुछ मालूम ही नहीं.
Yes.
ठीक है, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
But one thing I also noticed that colleges and institutions told the teachers to take online classes, but I find there are some teachers who are not tech savvy or not even know how to run the computers. So there should be some courses or upgradation courses given to the teachers, so that they don't feel insecure or something. Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Again, I would say this is again a drawback here, where training is not given properly. Many times you have to yourself learn that software, how to operate Zoom or any other software. Sometimes even students teach you that how to operate that. Training to teachers are not given, and suddenly everyone is facing this issue.
Yeah. Some
Ma'am,
teachers
but that, I don't think that is a major issue, especially in PG or UG cases.
No, sir. Sir, I've seen like I run a NetSet class. So one of my other professor who is teaching there, he's not tech savvy. So sometimes I have to assign some students, or I sit to operate Zoom. He is not able to unmute or mute someone, and sometimes he's not able to enter, allow and people to enter. So again, I think so. It depends on professor also how much interest you are showing in teaching. In learning.
No, ma'am. It's already like we have been using digital platforms. Of course, not very vigorously.
Yes.
But Zoom meetings. And it has been common from last 10 years.
Yes.
I mean, even in the social platform also, even in the educational platform also.
Yes.
So,
but I find Yeah.
I don't think that you can go YouTube and get anything learned over there, basically.
Yes.
I mean, that willingness has to be there. What I
Yeah,
think.
self-motivation, as she has said in her session. We require self-motivation.
Self-motivation.
Yes.
Self-motivation
that
is required. Yeah, I would like to share one more thing with you all. One, again, drawback of digital education is basically a feedback system. So if you see courses, like if someone has done courses from Coursera, there, when you submit your assignments, there is peer review. Peer review process is there. So this is, you can say, latest thing which is happening in feedback thing. If you do face-to-face sessions in classroom, their feedback professor takes you, they give you form or they will ask you face-to-face. But in online session, that again creates a problem. Yes, feedback form is there, but I am not telling about this Zoom session where after this session completes, this organizers will take feedback. I'm speaking about online lectures, online sessions which are happening like on Swayam or NPTEL. That feedback plays a very important role. So to overcome that thing, there is a option, there is a solution to it, is peer review. Feedback is there. If you have seen courses in Coursera and all.
Ma'am, how do they do that peer evaluation?
Ma'am, how it works is like, take example, I have taken course of 4 weeks at Coursera. So every week there is one assignment which I have to submit. So what they do is, once I submit my assignment, you have to tell some other same peers. Peers means who have already taken same courses like you. Yeah. So you have to submit your assignment there. They will review your course. And similarly, compulsory, I also have to review five assignments. Minimum requirement is 5, 2 to 5. You have to review, and other persons who have taken similar course, they will review your assignment. Once they review your assignment, they will give you marks, and then your assignment will be accepted. You will be pass or fail, whatever grades you are going to get. But I felt this drawback. One drawback in this was, I felt is, sometimes it is not necessary that that person is master. As I am a student, take example, if I am taking course on research methodology, still I am studying. My PhD is going on. And student like me is also analyzing my assignment. Maybe he is not mastered in that and he has given me less marks. Or sometimes you have, if you are not done properly also, you get more marks. Yeah, so these things are there. I would suggest you do some course from Coursera. So there you will come to know how this feedback, this peer review thing works.
Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am.
Yeah. Any other question?
Ma'am, yes, ma'am. When there is semester system, then it is okay. We are having the sessional marks in our hands, so we can make students available for our classrooms, online teaching. But when there is an annual system in graduation courses, it is very difficult to find 100% or rather 70% attendance in our classes. So it's very difficult. Like instead of having good interactive classes also.
Attendance, again, if I would like to tell you is, again, attendance plays a very important role. Now it depends on how colleges are like taking this issue. Like in my college, when sessions are happening, so there are we have allotted some marks to attendance, that if you attend, that marks will be there in your internals. If attendance is less, we will reduce your this much marks. So some grade you have to give them so that they attend.
Because students are knowing that everything is available afterwards, because the recording is happening, and we'll get the recording, we'll get the link, and that is why they are not attending the live classes.
Many colleges are not giving links, because that if you give links, if your session is early morning or sometimes if they are not free, they will not attend. So
right, ma'am.
We discourage giving links.
Right, ma'am. Right.
Ma'am, can you speak a little more about the Black Swan, the concept which you have given?
I'll give you more information. Yes, 1 minute, ma'am. Okay, I'm repeating this. See, this term is very well-known term in world of finance, and this term I told you is given by Nassim. See, Black Swan event is, I have never seen Black Swan. So there is Black Swan available, someone has seen somewhere in the world. So when that person saw that, he came to know that yes, Black Swan is also there. So these events like your subprime crisis, I gave you example of a subprime crisis, subprime in 2008, recession came, Asian crisis were there. Such crisis which happened, Spanish flu, which happened 100 years back. Now you can take example of this COVID situation. COVID, this situation will not happen again. This is once in blue moon unexpected thing or unknowing thing which you are not aware that yes, this is going to happen. No one was knowing that in advance, maybe 3 months before, or you can say even 1 month before, we were not aware that lockdown will be so extreme. So such unexpected events or some unknowable events, which can be, you can say it can be an extremely negative event also. COVID, you can say that this is a negative event, this subprime crisis or Asian crisis, they were extremely negative event which affected whole world. So, and which is also impossible or difficult to predict. Such type of events are known as black swan events. And this term black swan was given in this book, Wall Street Trader. And in this, if you read this book by this Nassim Nicholas Taleb, there he has given various instances of this. People from finance background can read this book.
Thank you so much.
So why I have taken this black swan term here, comparing it with COVID, because this COVID situation can be a black swan moment. It is once in blue moon, you can say, and it can be advantages also. Like if people might be enjoying, and many a times you divert or you use blended learning later on also when situation is proper, and it can be like drawback also. It can completely backlash also. Currently, I told you that this is backlashing only because many people are living in rural areas. They are suffering from internet connectivity and many other problems.
No, Shalu ma'am.
Clear?
Ma'am, we understood black swan. Okay.
Yes.
But what is the gist of that book by naming black swan? What was the conclusion like? Gist was?
Sir, this was again, I have not read full book. I have read just summary about this book. It was about financial events, sir, which happen.
No. What is the lesson we have to take from that?
Lesson is such type of events will happen. That event which happens, which is unexpected, which you have not expected, such events when they happen, it is a black swan moment, you can say, black swan event.
He has given a different name to divinity, basically.
Yeah.
Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, ma'am.
You spoke about the digital divide, and we know that it's a big issue at present. But instead of waiting for the government to come up with a strategy, what do you suggest that we as teachers can do to reach out to students who don't have access to internet? Can you
Ma'am, that is the same. In this situation, government has to make investment. Government has to give, ma'am, because take example, if teachers come together and they take initiative, but how you will send your information or videos or what you want to teach if they are not having internet access, how you will tell them?
Yes, ma'am, that's the problem we are facing. So what do we do in such a situation?
Ma'am, that was the solution. That only I gave you, that you need to showcase on television or radio, where television many houses have. And in villages, if you go into extreme interior villages of India, even though they don't have electricity also, but people or percentage of people who are having access to television and radio is more. So we as a teachers can't do anything to broadcast it. That government has to do, ma'am, on their channels, on DD channel and all.
Okay, ma'am. Yeah. Thank you, ma'am.
Any other questions, participants? Thank you, ma'am. Now I call upon Ms. Deepa, Head in Charge, PG, Department of Commerce, to propose vote of thanks.
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Amazing session, ma'am.
I take privilege in proposing this vote of thanks. I first thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity. Your speech was excellent, ma'am. It actually told us, it was very enlightening. It told us that this shift has to happen. We cannot avoid it. No, that is what you actually meant, if I'm right. So it is something which is it is compulsory. It has to happen, and so we all have to go with that. We cannot say I am conventional, I am traditional teacher, I will not go digital. Nothing can happen. All of us should become tech savvy, and all of us should start pulling up our socks for going digital. Thank you, ma'am, for your wonderful session, and hope you also are. All of us are going together, and you give us a lead. Whatever inputs you get, you please keep sharing with us, ma'am.
Yes,
thank you very much.
Yes. Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you, Auxilium College, for giving me this opportunity. Thank you, participants, for attending the session.
Give your email ID something so that we can connect you in future.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. PPT I will share
Thank
with
you.
organizers. You will get PPT. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, okay.
Email address, ma'am, of yours.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Bye, ma'am.
Bye.